please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, this Friday afternoon, it's me, Mangla Malu. With me is Nigel D'Souza. You're watching Your Stocks. We will answer all your stock queries, but in the meanwhile, just keep an eye out in the markets. We're below that 10,800 mark, a bit of weakness, most of it extended over the last half an hour. Nigel, you know, today we were talking about how those red and green lines are getting closer. In the interim, they did kiss each other, and now the red line is on top. We should get that up for you, both the advanced decline lines. But individual stocks, they are buzzing. Ultratech, our ticker team tells us, is at the high point of the day. I was looking at Piramal Enterprises as well from the F&O space. That one is at the high point of the day. But this is Friday and no beers being consumed, so keep an eye out on United Breweries.
Speak for yourself,
none of them being consumed by me for sure, but that one's at the low point of the day, Nigel.
Yeah, maybe because you're not consuming them. That's why.
But I'm not the biggest consumer. You know, it's a football weekend. I'm sure you would have more to say about that.
United Breweries, you know, if the stock is at the low point of the day, it's definitely not because of the consumption. I'm telling you, it's a football weekend. FIFA today is a cracker of a game. If that was the barometer, the stock should have been, you know, you get what I'm saying. All right, so let's start off the show. Let's run you through all the top stories, and then in fact we'll get to answering all your queries. First up, the market slips in the last hour to trade near the day's low, dragged down by heavyweights like ITC and private sector banks like Axis as well as ICICI Bank. The mid-caps to sell off. The index is down more than 0.5%.
There's no stopping the pharma rally. Another day of good gains, this time for Cipla, Lupin and Sun Pharma. Dr. Reddys gets an additional boost after the US FDA gives a nod for Suboxone.
In an otherwise weak market, TCS trades in the green ahead of its EGM today. The board will mull a share buyback wherein the promoters are expected to participate as well.
Trade deficit for the month of May widens to a four-month high of $14.62 billion. Exports at $28.86 billion. Imports, they stand at $43.5 billion. All right, and it's Friday. Today we have the ladies special on Your Stocks, where we answer queries coming in from all our female investors and viewers. So joining us today to answer all the queries coming in from the female investors and viewers, we have Ashu, Madan and Prakash, Gaba in our studio. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for taking the time out and joining us. Shipping Corp should come up for you, actually. That stock has fallen from the high point of the day. It did spike earlier and now it has corrected because we understand that the government is not keen to push for strategic sale, including Shipping Corp of India. Remember, that was one of the triggers of the company all through last year. In various intermittent points, we were getting in news that you know, the government is looking to sell Shipping Corporation of India. We here have been speaking to the management. They said they heard no such communication from the government. And remember, this one too comes from Newsrise. Not too sure of the veracity of this, but Newsrise reports that a government official says the government is not keen to push for strategic stake sale, including Shipping Corporation of India. Any more details?
You know, Manglam, early this morning itself, there were a couple of articles that stated that the centre has rejected Niti Aayog's strategic divestment plans. So, you know, some of these stocks, in fact, they would be in focus on the back of that. I think maybe, in fact, we could also pull up a BEML. Let's see what's happening on that particular stock as well. We'll keep an eye out, maybe a couple of other stocks dredging as well. Let's get the intraday chart of those stocks as well. So, you know, they are trading in the red as well. There was a news report early this morning itself that said that the centre has rejected Niti Aayog's strategic divestment plan. And now, in fact, you know, as per the government official, they are naming Shipping Corp as well in FY19. That explains why the stock has come off the high point of the day.
Absolutely. We also need to keep an eye out on the kind of monies that the government would have raised selling Shipping Corporation of India, because the market cap as we speak is close to around 3,000 crores. The government owns 63% in the company. So at best, you know, they would have raised, what, 1,800, 1,900 crore rupees. But against that, you know, there were a lot of things that we need to keep an eye out on as well. Maybe the employees or something of that sort. Maybe a lot of things perhaps to, you know, to consider before going ahead with this divestment. But let's move on. We have Megha Sen. Megha's been waiting. Megha Sen calls us from New Delhi with a query. Megha, go ahead. I believe you have investments in Axis Bank?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hold Axis Bank for 2.5 years, and I bought it at an average price of 434 rupees. I'm holding 50 shares. So I wanted advice on what should I do with the share. Should I hold it, or what is the advice?
Is this the only share in your portfolio, Megha, or you bought it for a specific reason? Since you said that you bought it about 2.5 years ago, what kind of investor are you is something that we're trying to figure out.
Well, when I bought these shares, I was investing for a long-term perspective. So I do hold ICICI Bank also in my portfolio. I had Yes Bank also.
All right.
but Axis is one of them. I've just turned profitable. So Yes Bank I've already sold off. I carry ICICI Bank and Axis Bank.
All right, so we'll try to get you help on both your investments right now. Ashu, your view on Axis Bank from a longer term perspective, should she continue to hold on to that stock? And even ICICI Bank, a lot of news flow with regards to the top leadership there.
Yeah, so let's talk two separately. If we talk about Axis Bank, I think the performance has been subdued in the past, and because of the higher slippages and the losses which were because of the various accounts. But I think good thing they have accounted for everything, and going ahead they feel that they have enough capital for the growth and they don't need any infusion of fresh capital. So management says that they have enough capital, and going forward these slippages would be significantly lower. And we have seen that post those bad results there was a bounce back, and it has been in a consolidation mode since then. So today is probably in last couple of days it has fallen, but between 530 to 540 it has been consolidating. So I would say this with that perspective, since she is saying that she has a long-term vision, a lot of negatives is priced in. If there is no fresh negative coming out in the next quarterly results, I would say that gradually it can move up. So certainly Axis Bank is a hold from my side. And simultaneously, if we talk about ICICI Bank is under pressure definitely, but important thing is right now that too much of negativity is surrounding all around the stock. So I would say that going by the pure psychology, that because nobody is touching the ICICI Bank right now, and a lot of people would have booked profit considering news flow around CEO, considering news flow around the bank's performance and everything, and probably the future outlook. So I would say that this time could be tough for the stock for some time, but if it passes through this and doesn't go down, then probably we can see a much higher level on ICICI Bank also, purely on account of the negativity which is surrounding, and it is still holding and consolidating. So right now, as the juncture we stand, I say that both Axis and ICICI Bank she should be holding and wait for some more time. Okay. Or probably hold it for a longer time. Okay,
Ashu, that's advice. Hang in there, stick with both those stocks, and in fact, maybe most of the bad news is in the price. But let's go to our next query. We have Tanvi, who writes to us from Bengaluru. She holds around 1,600 shares of Shree Renuka Industries at around what? At around 15 rupees 60 paise. Okay, making some money. Good. Long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. Prakash, we're talking about Shree Renuka Industries. A bit of a rarity. We have someone who's making some money at least on it.
Congratulations. Yeah. Take the money off the table.
Take it off the table?
Because, yeah, I don't like the structure. It's weak structure. If you are making money, why should you not take it?
Okay, all right. So that's the view. That's a technical view that's coming in on Shree Renuka. Ashu, you want to come into this one?
Fast. It's running up.
Yeah?
Why it's running up, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
One of the rare person who has made money in Renuka Sugar. Excellent. So I think she should be. For the rest of her life also she should continue with the tag of being lucky and book profit.
13% up.
All right. So both our technical and fundamental experts believe that, you've been lucky, Tanvi, that you're making money. And as you speak, in fact, just pull up the intraday chart of that stock. It's up 11%.
News?
We're trying to find out where there is some news or not. In fact, it will make sense to pull up some other sugar stocks as well.
Prakash just sell out. Don't be hit, sell out.
Let's see if there is something on the other sugar stocks as well, right?
We'll talk about the news later.
Okay, we'll talk about the news later.
Let's pull up some.
So pull up Balrampur Chini, maybe Dhampur Sugars, or any of those other sugar stocks to see whether this is a sectoral move or there is something specific with regards to. Looks like it is something sector oriented, because we're seeing all the sugar stocks move higher.
Sweetie on a Friday afternoon.
All that I don't know, Nigel, you would know better. But the view unequivocal from both our fundamental and technical expert. Right now the stock is surging. You are one of the few people who are making money there. So go ahead and sell it. With that, let's move on. We have Harshada Kulkarni writing to us from Kolhapur. Holds 30 shares of Eicher Motors at 20,000 rupees for the last 3 years. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Well, Prakash, a person's making money. 20,000 rupees is what they bought Eicher Motors at. Currently, people say at 29 times 2-year forward earnings, it is expensive. But then again, when you have a bullet like that, keeps roaring, what would your suggestion be?
Two ways to look at it. One is to exit part of it. If it comes down, add more. If it doesn't, at least you made money. You're sitting on profit. So I would say, so far hold. So far weak structure is strong. It's not a weak structure. You may see corrections, but hold. If you want to exit, book partial profits.
Okay, all right. I think we should get back to that sugar news actually, because now Shree Renuka Industries is locked in upper circuit. Let's pull up the intraday chart out there, and a lot of these sugar stocks are running along. I'm sure our research team is trying to pull out the news exactly what's going on here. But you pull up the intraday chart, some of these stocks, they're just taken off. Just take a look at Shree Renuka Industries, 20% higher. You have even a small stock, Dwarikesh, Balrampur Chini, you have Bajaj Hindustan for whatever it's worth. All those stocks, they are running, and they're running big time. So we'll try to find out what exactly is this news that's coming in there. For the time being, all we can see is the stock move and the price action that we're seeing out there, Mangalam.
Absolutely, Nigel. Even I'm trying to jog my Google or all the cursory glances. We're trying to see what is this news that is taking the stock prices higher. I'm sure the research team is working towards that, and they are trying to find this. But in the meanwhile, what we'll actually do is take a short break, come back, we focus on some more stocks, and perhaps get you a check on what's taking place in the sugar sector.
All right, we had a bit of a pullback. That's getting sold into the pharma stocks. That's the way to go really today. Those stocks holding well in the green. Dr. Reddys has really been the doctor this week, coming to the rescue. That's up nearly around 5% in otherwise weak market. For the week itself, it's up 15%. And for this month, it's up 22%. You pull up a last 1 month chart. What a mover this one has been. Mangalam?
Absolutely, what a mover this one has been. But remember, over the last 12 months, is down close to around 12%. So there is, some recovery, some way more to go. Over the last 12 months, it is still negative. So we'll keep an eye out on all these stocks. Let's move on. We have Nandita Shenoy writing to us from Bengaluru. Holds 75 shares of ICICI Bank at 253 rupees for the last 4 years. Is a long-term investor, wants to know whether to hold or sell. 253, the stock is pretty much where it was, if you consider the time, Prakash. So what would you suggest Nandita do? Hold it, or maybe, get out or something like that, sir?
Get out, I would say, because I see lower levels in ICICI Bank, possible low levels around 260 is possible. If she wants to re-enter, that's the place to re-enter. If I had the stock, I would exit.
All right, so hold it and you will get opportunities to re-enter. Let's move on to the next one. We have Sindhuji calling us from Bengaluru. Sindhuji, go ahead.
I have about 15 shares of Pidilite, which I bought at around 1,105. And unfortunately, I think the very recent times it has had a very good run up, and on the correction, I kind of tried to pick this up somehow. Because of the funds, I couldn't get more. What levels can I actually go ahead and buy more? I'm a long-term investor. I'm actually wanting to hold it for a good 5 to 10 years if possible. I believe it's a fundamentally good stock. So if you could kindly give me a technical review, that would be great.
So 1105, Sindhuji, it looks like you bought it very recently, because this looks like it's the record high of the stock, right?
Yes, exactly. I bought it very recently just to start with the exposure. That is how I have only 15 shares in it. So I kind of want to see on, just taking an exposure, see how things go. And since I believe it's a fundamentally good company, I just definitely want to increase my exposure in there.
All right. Fundamentally, yes, it is one of the best in the business, in the FMCG space as well. More than 80%. Fevicol is adhesive.
See how things go. And since I believe it's a fundamentally good company, I just definitely want to increase my exposure in there.
All right. Fundamentally, yes, it is one of the best in the business, in the FMCG space as well. More than 80%. Fevicol is adhesive, is Pidilite is what the moniker goes. So the only thing is the price that you bought it at is at a record high. So we'll watch out for that. Ashu, your view on Pidilite? She wants to buy more. Do you think she should deploy an SIP method? Or fundamentally, do you think it is priced in, all growth prospects are in the price?
See, if somebody has to buy this stock at this price, it has to be a very, very long-term vision. So otherwise, if you talk about the businesses, both consumer and industrial growth, I mean, in consumer segment, they are market leaders. They enjoy 85% of the market share. In industrial, they are 15%, but they are gaining market share. They have increased prices of their products, which have been accepted well. So it will be a gradual mover from this level, but SIP method would only, I would say that in this, if somebody has to go for a SIP method, then it should not be a time SIP, it should be a price SIP. So if it falls down by 10-20% because of market correction, and that is the time that one can enter, but not that every month or every 2 months. So I would say there are certain stocks which you should not have a timely SIP instead of price dominant SIPs. So in this is that stock, and basis that one can invest at a lower level, hold it, average out, but a long term because it is already at a higher price. So a lot of it is priced in, but I think growth prospects are in place. They're on revenue and margin fronts, both the companies is doing well, and I hope it will continue to do well.
Prakash, your take on Pidilite?
Well, Pidilite is a hold for me because when I look at the chart, it tells me it's still positive. We might see corrections. Corrections are buying opportunities. Very strong support vicinity of 900, 975 zones. If it comes there, those are buying opportunities. Hold so far.
Okay, all right. Let's move on then. We have some news that's coming in there. Bank of Baroda has put a large portfolio of non-performing assets on the block. Ritu is with us in the studio. She's going to run us through all those details. Ritu, what are you picking up?
Well, this is a release from the bank actually, and if you look at the gross non-performing asset numbers for Bank of Baroda in the last quarter, almost 56,500 odd crores, and 13% of that entire block has been, put on sale. So we're talking about 30 accounts that total 7,406 crore rupees. That Bank of Baroda is now looking to sell to asset reconstruction companies or any other financial institutions. Why this is relevant is because, a lot of these accounts that feature on the list are actually cases that are undergoing insolvency proceedings. So one way to read this is perhaps the bank doesn't see much value of getting a lot out of these cases through the recovery process via IBC, and therefore is now looking to make better gains perhaps by selling them through an ARC route. So some of the largest accounts that feature on this list are SR Steel, where Bank of Baroda has 1,550 crore rupees of exposure, Bhushan Power, Jindal Thermal, GTL Infra, GVR, GVK. A lot of these large accounts have been put on the block. So it is looking to sell these by the end of the next quarter. If it does make the sale, it will be a significant recovery for Bank of Baroda.
All right, indeed, significant recovery for Bank of Baroda, but then again, we need to find out that, the reason why it is selling it, given a lot of the market experts do believe that there would be a lot of resolutions in the IBC case, as well as some write-backs as well. The stock at the low point of the day. Let's take a break. Come back. We focus on some more stocks and queries when we return. Back, the cuts in the mid-cap index deepening right now, 3/4 of a cut, nearly 150 points on the mid-cap index, virtually closer to the lower end of today's trading session. The PSU banks, they're not doing well. That's something that article team is telling us as well. Earlier we were talking about how United Breeze is not doing well. Looks like not a lot of people are using Sin stock as well. Godfrey Phillips is at the low point of the day. When people are not drinking, they're not smoking, definitely they're well, because if you take a look at the pharmaceutical stocks, they're doing very well. And now the start of today's trading session so far has been Star, which is the exchange code Star. That one has suddenly spiked up about 8%. Prakash, you have a chart check on Strides?
Wow, a beautiful chart. Looks like the way it's trading up, it's bottomed out. It might go up. Who knows how long it takes? But I think it's bottomed out. My target is around 450. May take his own sweet time for that. But 450 is on the card. First resistance somewhere closer to around. Well, I would say that perhaps around the levels of 430. But let's take it 430. Why 450?
Okay, all right. I was wondering, Mangalam, where you were heading. People are not drinking and smoking. They're doing something else.
No.
What were they doing? Me and Prakash, we were almost dumbfounded.
No, so which is why I said they're unwell.
They're unwell and they're taking medicine. That's at least, it's... Maybe.
I don't know that, but okay, let's...
We have Pooja. Pooja, let's try to squeeze in this final query. We have Pooja, who writes to us from Pune. She holds around 13 shares of Asian Paints at around 792 since the last 3 years. Long-term investor, wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. Prakash, quickly coming to you, making good money, bought a quality stock, even in bad times, quality does well.
100%.
Yeah.
It does well. So I would hold it. Why sell it? If it comes out, keep adding to it. Just continue holding it. I like Asian Paints for long term. Berger Paints, Asian Paints certainly better. Yes.
All right, bad time, quality does well. In fact, as we're speaking about it, Britannia, that wants to move to the high point of the day. Yet another record high for Britannia. But let's move on. We have Ashu, your view on Asian Paints. The person's been holding it for the last 3 years, making money. You think more to come?
Yes, certainly more to come. I think this year they are expected to do well. Normal monsoon, so expectation that the expansion of growth will in rural and urban both will continue to augur well for the company. So I would say definitely hold.
All right, so whole Asian Paints, that's the view coming in from both Prakash as well as Ashu. Just keep an eye on the pharmaceutical stocks. Nigel, you spoke about Dr. Reddys earlier as well. Now that one too has moved to the high point of the day. 114 rupees in terms of gains is what the stock has added. And we will keep an eye out on that. 23% up this month. The other stocks which are trying to attempt a bit of a recovery, Yes Bank is the one. And Infosys too has moved a little higher from the low point of the day. We're seeing some purchase out there. Yes Bank still deep in the red by about 2%, but trying to attempt a bit of recovery there. There you have Infosys too, which has seen a move from the higher end, from the lower end of today's trading session.
All right, just keep an eye out on some of these mid-cap stocks, some of these PSU banking stocks. They're getting hit. Allahabad Bank, pull up the intraday chart there. That stock is coming for some selling. You have Syndicate Bank as well as Karnataka Bank. Pull up the intraday chart. Let's get these charts up for you on the screen. You'll just see the way these stocks have moved lower. Syndicate Bank, let's pull up that bank as well. Karnataka Bank as well has seen some selling pressure. So it's not really looking very, very good for some of these mid-cap stocks, particularly from the broader markets. Keep an eye out on them. And also, if you take a look at some of these metal stocks, let's pull up the metal index actually. Hindalco is one of the biggest losers on Nifty trade, so that's come for profit booking. Pull up the intraday chart there. And also JSPL, suddenly that stock has moved back to a price at which it raised some equity of around 232 odd. So the intraday chart should come up for that stock as well. But I think we're done on the show, Mangalam. Let's wrap it up.
Absolutely, we're done on the show. And before we do that, just pull up BSE Oil and Gas Index. That one is at the low point. It's football season, no takers for Gale. That one is at the low point of the day as well. With that, we're out of time on your stock. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18. Closing bell comes up next.